all plays. Yeah. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making up plays. You talking the game, get you to the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. Hitting the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, they working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays. Yeah.
Welcome, everybody, to the latest edition of Fast Break. I am your host, Mr. Bond Chronicles, and I'm blessed to be here with some great gentlemen. Who we got out there? Con, man, how's it going?
You know something, Ray? I'm honored to be on the show. ASP Network is the bomb, and I got my crew with me. Let's roll.
All right, and not to be outdone, we got Chris in the building today. He's wasn't too busy for us. What's going on, Chris?
Oh man, I'm never too busy to join you guys, man.
Oh man,
Pleasure to be here.
Good. Glad to have you. Exciting episode we have ahead. Definitely continue to like, share, and subscribe. ASAP is doing some really big things, so you don't want to miss it. But let's get into it. Let's start this fast break. So we are coming down to the end of the NBA season. There's been a lot of moving parts. The Knicks apparently look like they want to try and be a playoff team all of a sudden. Portland has been up and down. But we know what we want to talk about. We want to talk about the finals. And we potentially are looking at a rematch. It's definitely still on the table, although Phoenix doesn't look or hasn't looked as great tonight. But obviously they've had people in and out. But as it stands, we're looking at the potential Suns and Heat. What do you guys think? Is that a viable option for the finals, or you think either one of those teams might not be good enough to get there? We'll start with you, Chris.
Man, I know we saw this game play Wednesday, I believe, the Heat and the Suns, and Heat got dominated by a very well prepared Phoenix team. They came out and did what they needed to do. I do think Phoenix will be in the finals again this year. I hope they win it all. I don't think we're going to see Miami come out the East. The East is just so unpredictable right now. I mean, we saw what Brooklyn did last night, and they're missing one of their big three still. And if New York lifts that mandate, watch out. I mean, Philly, they got time to turn around. You can't count out Milwaukee again. And I think people have forgotten just how dominant Chicago has been this year, too. I mean, I know Miami has a great team. They got some dogs out there. They're well coached. But I just think I think the East is too deep to see Miami come out of it right now. Nothing against them. It's just, I think there's just better teams.
Okay. Con, man, what you got for us?
Well, you know something, fellas? My man made a good point, but the East is very tough, and you can't sleep on Miami at all. All the favorites were the Brooklyn and Milwaukee, and I'm gonna tell you all real quick. Y'all better watch out for Miami Heat, for real. They lost last night. They lost pretty bad. Jimmy Butler didn't play, but I think
Chris Paul didn't play.
I think the fact that
I was there.
Miami's going to be there in the end. I think Miami's going to be there in the end. They got.
What about
Huh?
I'm about to say, who do you see out the West?
Oh, the West. Okay, now I know you like Phoenix. Phoenix Suns throughout and everything. But you know something? For some reason, every year, Chris Paul gets injured. This year, he's injured. Hopefully, he'll be back for the playoffs. If he is, that's a major factor. But we got to take into consideration, my man always gets hurt. Why? I don't know.
He's got that injury out the way right now, though. I mean,
yeah, but I think the part that happens with that is yes, you can do conditioning now, but you're not going to be in game shape.
Correct.
When you come back, granted, whoever they play in the first round, I don't think should be really any competition based on who's down there. The only potential concern, and Minnesota had I believe, a bad loss tonight. But outside of that, I don't think anybody on that side would really pose much of a problem in the first round. But getting him up to speed is, I think, what would be kind of the bigger issue for me. So I don't know. I definitely think Miami, who is the 1 seed, they should get a win tonight, a good win, get back into kind of that swing of things. But it's hard, and I'm not gonna say it pains me to say this, but no, I agree with Chris. I think Phoenix has been the best team game in, game out in the West. I don't know that it's been that close. I don't know what Golden State is when Draymond comes back. I think he's scheduled to come back next week.
I think it's Monday, his due date.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that'll be good for them. I haven't been impressed with Clay or Steph for quite some time, really Clay all year. Steph had a pretty good game last night, or maybe yesterday, whenever. But Clay hasn't looked in rhythm. That bench rotation, which I said from the beginning would be a problem, they're starting Moses Moody instead of Poole. Like, they're trying to really fix it on the fly, and I haven't been impressed with what I've seen, or the coaching job really that I've seen Steve Kerr do. There's been rumblings about Jordan Poole and his frustration when Clay doesn't start. He's not starting now after he felt he had proved himself. So I just think they got a lot that they're dealing with.
Yeah.
The East is tough. The East is really
very tough. Yes.
What I saw out of Brooklyn last night was something to behold, man. Like, and you said it, that was without Ben Simmons, which the way in which they play offense, he's okay because it's not a bunch of movement on offense. It's pretty ISO. So he's not really going to be a deterrent at any stretch. He can stand in the corner and be just fine. I don't think they'll be throwing it to him. But Durant and Kyrie can shoot the mid-range, so it's not like he's stopping them from getting to the basket when someone helps off. And defensively, they would just get even better. Seth Curry's looked really good in Brooklyn.
Yes.
I think we called that like an underrated move. I think you said that too, right, Ray? Yeah.
Yeah. And Goran Dragic has been better than I expected. Just kind of cast off earlier this year. So they look great. Milwaukee, you never know what you're going to get from Middleton and Holiday, but when they click, they click. When Portis gets going and Giannis is Giannis, it's going to be something to see in the playoffs. Philadelphia was looking great until last night. But can you count on James Harden in the big moments? And last night was big, and he didn't show up playing in trouble.
Hey, fam, yo, let me tell you something real quick. 2 things. Number one, last year we had talked about the Western Conference being the leader as opposed to the Eastern Conference. This year, we're talking about the Eastern Conference. As far as Harden's concerned, how many times do you think he's going to go 3 for 17?
And he's had some bad shooting performances in the playoffs.
Oh, okay. But let me tell you something. How many times do you think he's going to go 3 for 17? I think he's been given the label of being not very good during the big games. But I think he knows this. He's not going to shoot 3 for 17. How many times is he going to do that?
I think he might only do it once or twice, but if it's at the wrong time.
Correct. Okay.
But he's definitely capable. And
easily,
he's definitely capable of, he has the playoff record for turnovers. So
yeah, true that. Yeah.
He got a bad combination that I expected to see a lot more. You left Brooklyn on bad terms, and Kyrie Irving came out and came at your neck, and you did not respond.
I mean, if Kyrie is defending you 94 feet and you can't do anything, come on.
Like
when is the last time you've ever said Kyrie, picked up somebody 94 feet?
Locked him up, took him out of his game. Like that, like you said, imagine if that's Ben Simmons.
Exactly.
Like Ben Simmons will be motivated in that moment to play defense on Harden, which allows Kyrie to save his energy. So
good point. Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's a good matchup for them, based on what I saw in Philly at that.
Yo, fam, I think it's too early. I think it's too early to make that kind of judgment. Now, Harden won 5 games with them when he joined the 76ers. I think he had one bad game. I think maybe the moment was too high for him then. But it was better to have him have that moment now than in the playoffs.
But I mean, what is history has shown us that he's do those moments in the playoffs too. And then you got to think about one thing between him and Embiid. Like we saw it last night, when those foul calls stop, happening, they're out their game. In the playoffs, you don't get a bunch of foul calls like that.
Yeah,
so because those two right there, I mean, that's between those two, that's what 30 points at the free throw line. So if they're not getting those, then what?
Yeah. So I definitely think they got some things to work out. And being able to play through contact in those big moments will be really, really important. But let's get into, I guess, kind of y'all takeaways from the 76ers and that Nets game. Obviously, very, very impressive performance. Kevin Durant was Kevin Durant. Him and Embiid was going back and forth. I really did. I agree with, I think it was LeBron that tweeted that they let him talk and they didn't give him technicals. And I think that's good. I think the league might need a little bit more of that when people's reputation and they're not fighters or not, it's not going to escalate into nothing crazy. So I definitely enjoyed that. But the Harden and Kyrie matchup was just bad. And I think we saw the potential of what Brooklyn can be. But Con, and you said it's a little early. So what were your takeaways from last night's game? And do you think it'll have a lasting effort going into the playoffs after the way they played?
I think that the Nets really took control of the game. They felt the moment. I think maybe Harden too much, and he might not have been a limelight, and he's been known to have bad games during big games. But I think it's too early. I think that. Let me ask you all a question. What do you think Harden is going to be from now on? From learning. See, sometimes it's good to learn a lesson before the playoffs than during the playoffs. If you learn before the playoffs, you know what to expect, and you're going to be able to adjust. I believe that Harden will not shoot 3 for 17 in a big game because that's his reputation. That's what he's known for. I think Philadelphia knows this is what they got to do. Their window is very close to me. They gave up too many picks to the Nets. They gave them too much. They got to win now. And I think with Harden, I'm not going to make it because of how much money he makes, 40 million or 44, whatever he makes. I think that you're going to see a different Philadelphia team. How many times they play the Nets again?
I don't think they played
before the playoffs.
I don't think they do.
That was the last one.
Okay.
Comment, I'm gonna throw something back to both of y'all before Chris, you can answer his question. So I don't know if y'all saw, but after the game where Meek Mill, Lil Baby was there.
Okay, I really was gonna say that. That was gonna be part of my answer.
And somebody else, I forget who the other entertainer was that was there.
Lil Baby.
It was Lil Baby, Meek Mill, and someone else.
Travis Scott.
Travis Scott. There you go. Thank you. After the game, you was getting your leg rubbed down like you had a calf injury or something.
Yeah.
You got embarrassed. You played awful.
Yep.
And you at the club had a birthday party having the time of your life. For me, I get it. But for me, if you're talking about what do I expect of James Harden, that to me says you weren't concerned with your performance, and that to me is concerning. Like, I get it. The game's over. There's nothing you can do about it, but it's just bad optics. So that's kind of my response to you as far as will James Harden have another bad postseason game? He may not have that bad of a game, but given the height of that game, it shows me he was not mentally where he needed to be. And if you're not there for that game, I can't guarantee that you'll be there when it matters in the playoffs. Go ahead, Chris.
You took everything I was going to say. I was going to bring up the club thing and everything. I think another thing too, it's been good this year, but we talked about Chris Paul, backstage. Do you trust Embiid's health? Playoffs is going to be some heavy hitting, bully ball. I mean, we don't trust his health. And then I say it every show. I say it 3 times a day before I have my breakfast. I don't trust Doc. Like, that's going to be a big thing in the playoffs too. I mean, Harden chokes in the playoffs. We've seen Doc do it multiple times. As good as Philly is, I just don't have the faith in him. I really putting him second round exit.
Wow. And so what a second round exit means what for their future? Because to Con Man's point, they're playing for now.
They can do it this year. They have to win next year, though. Like, you can't go past next year. Because isn't Embiid's contract coming up too?
Yes.
Yeah, he should be getting close to the end of his big deal. What up, Mike?
Oh, man. Y'all, it's an honor.
Oh, Chris, stop it. It's always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure seeing my man, Con Man, Chris, Ray. I hope you guys are having a great day.
Oh, Jay's in the house? Oh, shoot.
I ain't Jay.
Oh, man.
I don't know, man. I'm kind of upset with Mike, though. He was talking some noise in the group chat a second ago. Kind of hurt my feelings.
I was talking that ish. I'll talk that ish on here. Hey, free Deshaun Watson, man. He ain't do nothing.
I wish we can Monday on Real Talk. We're gonna definitely go get into that.
Listen, Ray, all I'm gonna say is
I might try to join y'all.
All I'm gonna say, I ain't gonna speak on something that a judge cleared. That's just me. That's all I'm gonna say.
No, I am. You had a situation in the city of Chicago with somebody that gave a false statement and he went to jail for it.
Yeah, that's different. He a little crackhead.
My point being, you give these false statements, there should be some repercussions. The Bond Chronicle is going to touch on that too. Shout out to that. But no, we were talking about Philly and the Nets game, Mike. What kind of takeaways did you have? Is it a big deal or is it just an isolated incident and no big deal?
It was beautiful. Kyrie Irving locking up James Harden was one of my favorite things about the entire game. I think a lot of people missed that. That whoever didn't catch the game, you're not going to see that in the box score. But it was a great game by Kyrie Irving, and I love that because Kyrie was viewed as the huge problem in Brooklyn, and rightfully so. There's a lot that went into that, but it comes down to at the end of the day that if Ben Simmons and when Ben Simmons decides that he wants to play basketball again or he's ready to play basketball, whether that's health or mentality, whatever that may be, I mean, the Nets are for real. The Nets are solid. I'll give Harden 3 years. I mean, he don't even got 3 years on a deal, so I mean, he can leave.
Yeah, what does he have, 2?
I think it's next year for sure. I think that's it.
Okay.
It's really like a season and
or does he though? Because then he missed it. He missed on it for it, right?
I think he missed the extension to go past next year, but he has next year locked in for sure. But yeah, I think it was a great game all around. I loved Embiid and KD talking that ish. I felt like it was great. I felt like it was something the league needs more of. We personally as Bulls fans fear Joel Embiid. I will always fear Joel Embiid. And I think at the end of the day, though, like it just comes down to it. Like this could potentially be the Eastern Conference Finals. As much as I'd love the Bulls to be in it, as much as I want to give respect to the Miami Heat and Jimmy Butler and obviously the defending champs, this right here could be it. And for it to kind of have a little bit, Chris knows, have a little bit of chatter going on before it even kicks off, I'm pretty excited about it because it's going to make a fun series.
All right, but fam, let me tell you something real quick. Wouldn't it be better talking about Philly right now? Wouldn't it be better for them to have their bad game now than opposed to the playoffs.
See, I said
what I'm saying,
right? I said that as a Bulls fan though, and then it just kept getting worse. So I think you got to get those dubs. You got to get those dubs in there. You got because Ray be throwing out this stat at me, Michael. Ray keeps throwing out this stat saying that the Bulls can't beat good teams. And, at first it was like, it's only 3 teams. I don't care. Then it turned into 5. Then it turned into 7. Now it's at like 14. And I'm kind of sitting here and I'm like, maybe Ray's on to something. Something. So you got to get those wins in.
The Bulls are credible now. When was the last time they were credible? They're credible now. DeRozan, Levine, they're playing great ball. They lost a couple of players due to injury. I like the Bulls.
But like my point, I don't want to turn it into a Bulls tangent, but my point is like you kind of got to get these moral victories in to get a good understanding of what you have.
Of course.
And with or without Ben Simmons, they should have had that game in the bag.
I agree with you.
And I think for me, the other point here is according if say New York and the governor or mayor, whatever he is, he's a clown. But let's say he's staying on this flawed premise that now apparently everyone's so outraged about, even though I and others have been saying it was dumb from the beginning. But I think what we saw last night was that even if Philly has home court advantage, that don't necessarily mean anything. And we talked about it a while ago. Is it advantageous for Brooklyn to not have home court because they would have more games with Kyrie? And I think what we're seeing is home court advantage with Brooklyn, especially if they got to play Philly. I think they set a tone that says we will come in your building and in the highest of moments we will embarrass you.
Right. And Ray, do you think it's worse if Philly has home court advantage because of Ben Simmons? Not to say he has mental struggles, but Philly fans are going to give it to him when he's in that arena. So do you think it's better if they have more games in Brooklyn? That way Ben doesn't have to worry about that? Because obviously the fans, the front office, it's all gotten to him in the past. I mean, it could mess up a lot of things.
So
what does he have to do though? What would he have to do if they're in Philly? He doesn't have the same responsibilities he had last year.
No, yeah, for sure. But I mean, it's
still make his job a hell easier. I mean, all he has to do is just defend Harden. I mean, I'm saying it like it's easy, but
it's all right. It's like
no. I mean, Kyrie did it last night. Hell, if Kyrie can do it,
Chris, in the playoffs, it's all right. He'll be all right.
I mean, I think the difference is, and I talked about it earlier, is he won't. I don't think he'll be in a position that he was in Philly where he got the ball at the end of the game.
Right.
I think it'll be a situation where down the stretch, he's just standing in the corner playing defense.
Oh,
so I don't think it's going to be a situation where they're going to be fouling him per se. He's going to have to shoot free throws. I think the way Kyrie and KD came out and spoke in favor of him in the midst of all of this tells me a lot, because I would be frustrated with him that you still ain't started playing yet and your back looked just fine in pregame and your back looked just fine sitting on the bench, but you're not out here helping us. But they defended him in spite of that. So they've already embraced him. So I think that'll help relieve a lot of the pressure that Doc and Embiid put on him at the end of that game last year. And so I think he'll be fine. Could it bother him some? But I think the key for me would be take all that booing and turn it up defensively, because I think then his defensive assignment becomes James Harden.
Right.
If Kyrie gave Harden a hard time, I know Ben Simmons will give him a hard time. So
I think that one thing too is going to help him mentally, Patty Mills, his Australian brother.
Yeah.
Like, you got to really think about that. I mean, he's on the bench talking to him and everything. That's going to help him a hell of a lot.
Marcus, we got to get you in here, man. I see you jumped in here. Thanks.
Yeah, my man Marcus. What's up, though?
How y'all feeling, brothers?
Feeling amazing.
I see you with a Superman shirt on, man. I got one.
Oh, yeah, man. There you go. You got good taste there, Chris.
I'm watching John Morant become Superman and bring Memphis all the way back.
I told you, Hey, Ray, beginning of the year, brother. I told you, that's my MVP.
You did.
That's my MVP.
You did say that.
You did. But Marcus, what's your thoughts on the Brooklyn Philly game last night? Big deal, not a big deal? And big deal that Harden was out clubbing after the game with that miserable performance, or no big deal?
Can't believe that. I can't believe that.
No big deal. I'm not gonna put no stock into the regular
Keep in
season
mind,
game.
Marcus is a Philly fan, ladies and
Right.
gentlemen.
So to me, it was no big deal because we already beat Brooklyn, without Harden, and we really that game last night. It don't look like nobody really showed up. They look like they really just showed up to boot Ben Simmons. Like the energy was all towards Ben Simmons. So now that that's out the way, let's get into the playoffs and then we'll see what really happening because I watched the game and it was like the energy wasn't there. Like just from the beginning, it just seemed off. And I'm not
now giving an unbiased opinion.
Yeah, I'm not gonna really hang my hat on, this game. So
Marcus, I got a question for you though. Me and Ray have been talking about it, and I haven't gotten to talk to Ray in a while because the lovely man is so busy. I'm so busy. But now that we're all here, we can have the conversation about it. We're all talking about Brooklyn's big three. Would you consider Tyrese Maxey slowly becoming a part of a Philly big three with Embiid and Harden? Do you think he's there yet?
I don't think so. And I ain't gonna put all that responsibility on that young fellow like that neither. I like the way he plays his game now. He let the game come to him and he plays within the flow of the offense.
He got 4 points last
night. That's what I'm saying though. Like one night I hear this is baby Allen Iverson, and the next night he has 4 points.
Nah, he's more like Lou Williams to me. He'll get streaky, have some hot shooting moments, and then he'll disappear. So basically, if he shows up perfect, we really need Tobias Harris to show up.
Yeah.
And go out there, give us like 18, 6, and 6 if you can.
Marcus, what y'all need is another shooter.
We do, man. We do. And
Jimmy Butler would have showed up for you, Marcus. That's just me, though. I'm just saying.
He stays hurt too, so I don't know.
I'm just saying, but when he's there, he's there. That's you know how me and Chris feel about that one.
If the Bradley Beal rumors are true, then there's our other shooter. But me personally, I always said I would have waited till the offseason and got James Harden. I would have just left the team the way it was, kept my depth and all that good stuff. Just waited till the offseason and got James Harden. If he was coming anyway.
So that brings me to another point, Marcus. James Harden is best with the ball in his hand.
Mm-hmm.
I believe Tyrese Maxey is best with the ball in his hand. Do you package this summer Harris and Maxey for Beal and some other comparable player? Because I don't know that Maxey and Harden fits. And I think that's the biggest issue in all of it. Is Maxey was playing great until Harden got there. And now he's kind of take the reserve role. And we talked about how Jordan Poole has been impacted by Clay's return. Do you think it's better to try and move him and get another superstar instead?
No, I wouldn't. And like I said, he's young. I put him off the bench. He could play that Lou Williams role, and he can play it well. And then around that second unit, get some more shooters and another playmaker on your second unit, and I'll keep them. Like, there's a way I can get Bradley Beal without giving them up, then I definitely go for it. But if there isn't a way, I'll leave him right where he at.
Okay.
I don't believe in getting rid of young talent that's showing an ability to go out there and get you 30, 25 on any given night.
So if you have to get rid of him for Bradley Beal, do you do it?
No, I wouldn't.
All right, now let me tell y'all something from an old school G that I am. When you do get a player like a Beal or a John Wall, who make over $40 million a year, you ruin your salary cap. You are not able to get quality players because you put yourself in a hole where you can't get out of. For example, John Wall right now making $44 million a year. He ain't played 1 minute. So Bradley Beal's, I think he's able to get almost $50 million a year on his new contract if he were able to sign it. Why would anybody take on that contract that will hinder their growth? Now, as you know, in all sports, you only look for now, you look for the future.
Yeah.
So, Tom, I'm going to question you real quick.
Cool.
If this year, what we've seen out of Memphis, if Ja Morant say when his rookie deal's up, I want $50 million, do you give it to him?
Hell yeah.
then that's the answer to your question. If you feel like Bradley Beal is going to be the difference maker, the same thing we saw in football where the LA Rams went and got Matt Stafford and went and got certain people, whether it's trades, whether it's F them picks, whatever it is, if you think that that person can get you to where you need to be, you make the deal. It's right. LeBron trading all the youth for Kevin Love. It's LeBron trading all the youth for Anthony Davis. It's you spend the money if you think that's going to get you the championship.
Right. Okay, wait. I got to come back for you. How is Morant?
Like 23. He's my age. He's like 22.
How old is Bill?
He's like 28.
28?
Okay. Now, depending upon where Morant would go, if it affects their salary cap, remember, the NBA is a business. So you got to make deals where you're going to make a profit.
Right.
And if you're going to get somebody like a Bill, who's always hurt, by the way, you got to take that into consideration. Is it worth it? Is it worth it?
He's making $33 million this year. He's been the best player on that in Washington for a couple of years. I think
that's right.
I think he's a huge upgrade over Maxey and Tobias Harris.
Yeah.
So if I'm
Philly, boss, you in DC, so I understand. You in DC, I understand that. You know what I mean?
I would be pissed. If you trade him for Tobias Harris, I'm gonna be pissed. I don't want no.
I would be too. I would be
Philly
too.
Philly has to be in a win now mode, though. They can't think about the future right now.
Exactly.
The future was Joel Embiid. He's the process. So you got him here. You got Harden. Go ahead and win now because you don't have them guaranteed too much longer.
And Con Man, I think something you hit on, and I think this is the difference to what I look at. What up, Ruth? For me, the type of teams that need to make these moves that, okay, this guy's worth like $40 million, $50 million are the teams that already have young, developed guys. You have Thibault, you have all these other cats that are super young on the bench. You don't have to pay them right now. You don't have to pay them for a while. This is a problem for the next GM. Who gives a shit? I'm going for the championship. I'm going for my legacy. If Ray's getting the job after me 5 years from now when I get fired, that's his problem to figure out. That's his problem to figure out with my John Wall contract. I'm going to try to get mine now. Just like look at Sean McVay right now. Sean McVay said it clearly. If the next coach that comes into LA as the Rams has to deal with not having any picks, that's on him because I got my championship. I don't give a shit about the next guy. And that's really how you have to look at it. I understand from an ownership perspective, you have to kind of think, hey, what about the future? But what about the future if you get all these guys and you don't get a championship? If Bradley Beal is that deciding factor, and maybe not even Bradley, maybe Zach LaVine, maybe a bunch of other guys that are going to be free agents at the end of the year that are younger than Bradley Beal that you could still pay the max $35, $40 million to. Ray, I would be pissed. So we might be in the same boat together this year. Who knows what happens? But it comes down to it, I think about Chris Robinson with Chris Paul. Obviously, he didn't trade for Chris Paul, but he brought him in, signed him to a huge extension at the end of the year. Why? Because you already have Cam Johnson, because Cameron Payne's still young. Devin Booker, Ayton, Bridges, all these other guys, McKay, they're all young. Right, but you need that one guy who's going to be very expensive. But as long as you have the depth, as long as you have a bunch of young guys on cheap deals, it's not going to affect you in the long run.
But what are you willing to give up? Or what are they going to be willing to give up?
I mean, if you're just giving up Harris, and you're just giving up Harris and Maxey for Bill, you can get a championship. You're not losing much. I mean, Maxey, it may hurt, but losing Harris right now, Harris is ass. Like, he's been ass since Harden's been there. So,
the money don't equate. Bill makes over $40 million.
No, he's only making 33.
Yeah, I think Harris is making 35. If I'm
I think Harris makes more than Bill, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
No,
he does.
Yeah. Harris is way over. Well,
he don't deserve it. No, man, he don't deserve it, but he's getting paid for sure.
Yeah.
So according to Google, Harris is at 32.7. Bradley Beal is at 33.7. So they're $1 million off.
$1 million off.
So that didn't match up.
Then you look at Max is probably making what, $1 million. So that
he's on that rookie deal.
So that's the perfect balance.
Yeah. Damn, we just did a trade, y'all.
But the thing is, he'll always get hurt.
Philly, bring me in tomorrow.
Would you bring someone in who makes 40, 33, 34 million, who's always hurt?
I already got
he ain't gonna help if he's hurt.
If you got, tell me this,
he's only been hurt. I think this past year or two.
Right, just like, and it's nothing serious.
So right, if they were a contender, I think he would be coming back. But
and the thing is, you're not bringing Bradley Beal in to be the man,
right?
Like he's your helper. He's your third option.
He's the third option in Philly, which I think is.
How do you think he's gonna react to being the third option?
Hella good.
It worked well for him. But
I always good being second option with John Wall. He was the second option with Westbrook, and it worked good. I'm pretty sure being third.
No, I wouldn't give up Maxey. I would develop him.
You gotta win now.
By the time you develop him, Harden's out the door.
No, they can. It could work with him. It's proven to work with him and Harden right now.
Marcus, would you give up Thibault and Tobias?
Yes.
I think that one. I think you can.
I think if you throw that because
but for us, Thibault does. We got a bunch of Thibauts. We got a Rui. We got a bunch of 3-and-D kind of guys. We need some scores.
Yeah, but Thibault just really D. He ain't really no 3. So
yeah, that's true.
So if we run into Brooklyn, we need more offense because defense. If you get past like Harden or whoever. Joel Embiid's back there to back you up. And Tobias don't really play no defense because Durant was just cooking.
He don't do much or nothing, to be honest.
I mean, what is more, Durant cooks.
Yeah, so if you're not giving us no offense, you got to give us some defense. And Tobias don't do neither one at this point. So.
And that's where I'm coming from. Maybe it's not Beal. Maybe it's you just get Zach LaVine in free agency. You pay him Bradley Beal money. You don't got to trade nothing.
I'm good with that.
We more so need a wing defender than we would need another shooting guard.
But you got to come off of Tobias, though. You just got to get rid of Tobias. So.
Right.
Yeah, because you got that man off a cliff. I couldn't bring anybody in.
So even somebody like a Robert Covington, who we used to have, I'll bring him back in. A 3-D guy, wing defender, can pick up, 94 feet, can probably cover Durant better than Tobias Harris. I'll definitely bring him back. Matt, I was a little upset that we didn't get CJ McCollum. I thought he'd been a perfect fit.
Yeah, that would have been a good move.
Right.
That would have been a good move. Yes.
Yeah.
My man is balling down there in New Orleans, isn't he?
Yeah, man.
Well, he's out now.
They got the health and safety, but
yeah, he's out now for a minute.
He got a new life. So definitely happy for him. But obviously, we talked about this offseason and people on the move. So I'm gonna throw a name out there, and I need y'all to tell me where they end up next year. I'll start with John Wall, con man. Where's John Wall playing at next year?
Yeah, he over 40 million. Ain't played in like a year and a half.
Shanghai.
I'm gonna say somewhere like Sacramento because they got the money, they got the salary cap. I think he can go there.
They got John Wall 2.0 on the roster already.
How about what you gonna do with De'Aaron Fox?
They just got rid of Halliburton, and like that's Fox.
That hurt my soul. I wasn't on the show for that one, boys, but that one hurt my soul.
That was tough.
Yeah, Sacramento.
I mean, where can he go? Is he a point guard or is he a 2 guy? He does both.
He's a point. He's like he's a true point.
You think so?
For sure. He's not good enough to be.
No. John Wall.
Oh yeah, he's a point guard for sure.
You think so? Huh? Okay. All right.
He can't shoot.
Back in the day, now I don't know what John's doing now, but
it's gonna be kind of hard to see because his game was so predicated on his speed. So it's gonna be kind of hard to see what John Wall does.
So where y'all think he should go?
I'm
thinking somebody can fit him financially as far as salary cap.
Right. I think you could look at the Clippers. The Clippers to me are someone that you can kind of make an understanding of. Like they're getting a lot of these guys off the books right now. So really it's just Kawhi, PG. They could do what the other guys in LA are doing. They could have a big 3, if that's what you want to call it, with Westbrook right now. But they could do the same thing and see if it works. I think John Wall, Kawhi Leonard, and Paul George are going to be great in the infirmary together. I think they can bond a lot. There's going to get a lot of little threes. Bulls.
What are you going to do with Jackson?
Yeah, Jackson's one of those guys who's 31 years old. So, I mean, how much are you willing to pay?
Why you saying so hard, right?
What are we talking? Reggie Jackson? He should be coming off the bench. He's not a starting player.
What?
Reggie Jackson's 31 years old. Like it's
You
not.
see how you balling?
He's balling. He's
That's why
balling.
he's-
But who's
that's-
out? Who's out right now, Con man? There's no Kawhi. There's no PG. He better be balling because no one else is out there.
Good point. Good point. Good point. I hear you.
But you gotta give it to Ty Lue for that, though.
Respectfully, Chris Robinson, I love you, bro. But when I see Cameron Payne dropping 20 points per game, I go, well, yeah, because Chris Paul's out. Cameron Payne better be dropping 20 points per
And he
game.
ain't just
But
20.
when he was the number one on the Bulls back in the day, negative 12 points. I don't know how he did it, but he had negative 12.
Well, sometimes it always depends on the situation that the player's in. Because sometimes you just have to be removed from a team.
I know, but I'm never going to forgive that man. As long as I live.
But I think he might end up in LA on the Lakers, or he might end up in OKC.
God, no.
Don't you like Shea, though?
I like Shea, but if you pair him with a John Wall,
I think Shea.
John Wall really lost none of his speed.
Shea and Giddey are a nice backcourt, though. I will say that.
Yeah, and that would be a nice little fit, now that they a few more years into it, John Wall be able to come in and give them a little spark. But I can see him being with the Lakers, letting Westbrook go, making that swap in the all season. I can see it happen.
Mm-hmm.
That was my thought process.
I do like the Clippers option. I like the Dallas option too.
Yeah, Dallas. Yeah, definitely Dallas. That'd be a good fit.
That makes a lot of sense.
Can they afford that though with what they're paying Luka?
Yeah.
Anybody was getting paid though.
I mean, Hardaway gets paid pretty decent.
But I think Houston would cover most of that salary anyway.
Oh yeah.
And they got rid of Porzingis, so that money went away. So they got.
I think you could look at. I mean, this is just a rumor. I know it's not a realistic trade on 2K right now, but the way Tibbs is looking at Cam Reddish and Julius Randle right now, he's not a fan of either of them. If you move Kemba, Reddish, and them, if you can get picks, who knows what they could do. If they just want that salary off, they're gonna get it off.
I think.
Let me ask y'all a question real quick.
But then that's just what does that do for New York?
It doesn't. Hey, Chris, exactly. It doesn't. So that's why they do it.
Yeah.
Tibbs a fool. I would have been playing Kemba Walker from the get go but Derrick Rose being out and Kemba Walker can go out there and
You leave Derrick alone, Marcus. You leave.
No, I'm just saying Derrick
Don't
Rose.
slander Derrick here.
No, I'm not.
I got something for y'all real quick. If you're obtaining a player, don't you think you should check their physical ability, their health? How many players have been getting traded and they're hurt?
Right, like Ben Simmons got
Simmons.
the back issue. I'm like,
Where'd it come from?
I think it's a long-term thing. Just like I think Rubio got traded and he's out for the year.
That's one.
I think it's more so like Karis LeVert got traded and he ended up having
no, Ingles got traded. He tore his ACL.
Yeah, but
There you go.
Rubio got.
But
didn't LeVert find out
he was balling before he got hurt though?
LeVert got like cancer or something like last year.
He
Remember?
found out in his physical.
Yeah, but that's how they do the physical. That's how LeVert found out about his issue, right?
Yeah, it's just a matter of do they still want to do it, but and usually it's a money issue. If I'm the team trying to get rid of the player, like I'm just trying to get rid of the player. And if I'm the team taking it and I'm just going to stash him or whatever, or sit him on the bench, I don't think it matters. My question for you guys, and comment you can answer too, is why not, or how do you guys feel about John Wall in Boston?
Oh Lord,
Bad fit.
Can they afford it?
Oh, I never thought about it.
They can afford that, can they?
I don't think they would have to move Al Horford, but
I mean, they would have to be a trade, but
Yeah, that's a bad fit.
I
Between-
still
got
don't
Marcus
know
Smart.
because you already have your issues with Tatum and Brown sometimes, and then you got
Right.
John Wall too. Who
They
you
got
coming off?
Marcus Smart right now. Marcus Smart, like they love him here in Boston. I'm out here in Boston, close New Bedford, Mass. They love Marcus Smart here.
If you do it, you coming off of Jaylen Brown,
I would do it because
yeah.
and I'm not
I
losing
would
Jaylen
do
Brown
that.
for John Wall. Like I love
Right.
John Wall, but nah.
How would
you
you
think
feel?
Jaylen Brown is a better fit with Tatum than John Wall?
yeah,
Yeah.
I think he's more productive, and I
That's
think
what it is.
more
Maybe
available.
not the fit, but yeah.
All right, if you want somebody that just like in Brooklyn, you can throw the ball and go one-on-one, sure. But you want somebody to facilitate the offense.
But is he going to be available? Is my kind of thing. Like Jalen don't miss games. Jalen's never hurt, and he's what 24 years old. Like that's
But how long? So then, how long do you ride this experiment out? Because it hasn't worked yet.
I wouldn't ride it out. I think you build around Jason Tatum, and that's what it comes down to. I hate anybody saying that this is Jaylen Brown's team. It's not. It never. Ever since that man blocked LeBron James in the Eastern Conference Finals, it was his team, and it was his team forward. And that's just how I look at it. But I think a team, Ray, not to get off the Celtics wagon, but when you really look at it, I think New Orleans is someone you might want to look at because you already have Valanciunas, you have Zion, you have Ingram, you have CJ McCollum. They still have really cheap deals. Zion's still on a rookie deal. Ingram doesn't make much. Valanciunas doesn't get paid the way he should. And I really do think at the end of the day, even if you had to flip CJ, you might be able to get away with that. You still have Devontae Graham. I really like Devontae Graham. I think he's a 2 more than a 1. He's not a true point guard. Jaylen missed about 30 games, but that's
hold up.
10 of them were COVID. So
I called chimed in. Jaylen Brown missed 30 games. My man Charlie Perry, who chimed in, Jaylen Brown missed 30 games.
Yeah, but he's not really hurt though. Like this season is weird. Like
the past couple seasons, you're gonna miss games because of COVID protocols.
He was in COVID protocols twice.
Please.
So I keep hearing you guys all keep bringing up injury history with select people. And so are you saying that people with injuries you just stay away from altogether? Because
hell no.
But that's basketball period.
Ray, I'm a Chicago fan. I love that shit. If you're hurt,
right? I mean,
Chris Paul's my favorite player. I mean, come on.
Derrick Rose is my favorite player. Come on, Ray, don't do this. Don't create this narrative, Ray.
I love it.
I know Marcus loves that.
Every time he falls at the ground, I'm like, he ain't coming back for 10, 20 games.
I swear to God. But hey, that's my brother, and I'm gonna ride with him.
Durant is becoming injury prone. Do you not bring Kevin Durant in? Like, what are we talking about?
There was that conversation though when KD first got hurt. People had that conversation.
Well, that's because you got to wonder though. Like KD had an Achilles injury, and he's only 117 pounds. I mean, that's something you worry about, Like,
without a doubt.
Yeah, I get that concern, but I mean, it's still Kevin Durant. You take that chance because if it's Kevin Durant, and he's like 60% of what he used to be, he's still better than 80% of the NBA. So,
fair enough. Before we
Ray, you never really said it though. Was Boston yours?
I think I've said that before, and I would do that yesterday. I don't think Jaylen Brown's that dude personally.
Right.
I think he's solid, but he's not. To me, he's not a number 2 on a championship team.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you get a true point guard in there, somebody that'll help attack the basket, which will get, and as a better passer to get Jason Tatum more shots in areas he wants to shoot in. I think that's better. I think John Wall playing that up-paced tempo and Boston would be good for them. And a lot of people, we talk about John Wall's offense, and we don't know what he'll be, but John Wall was a heck of a defender as well.
Yeah.
He was long, he was rangy, he was tops in the league in steals each year. So I don't see the big drop-off from Jaylen Brown to John Wall. Right. I just think we haven't seen John Wall, so we don't know what he is.
And I think that's the problem too. Like I said, John Wall's game is so much based on his speed. He's had leg injuries, man. You really got to see him play before you really commit to John Wall, especially giving up Jaylen Brown.
But I feel like that's assuming he doesn't have an IQ. Like he was a pretty smart point guard, in my opinion. I thought he played.
That is true.
So I think he would be able to adjust. And he also had a really good mid-range game. It was unconventional.
It was up there.
But it wasn't effective. So and I still think and again, I'm only watching pro-ams and summer league runs and all the stuff he's been doing.
Right.
He seems still explosive. So what that looks like against NBA talent is to be determined. But I would take that shot if I'm Boston because I don't think what they're doing is working. And I think the window's starting to close. So I would shoot the shot.
I would definitely now. If I was Philly, I would go after Jaylen Brown because he'd be the perfect fit for what we need as far as being on the wing and not needing the ball in his hands as much. I'd definitely give up Maxey and Thibault.
Jaylen Brown has the issue being a number 2 in Boston. You think he's going to be happy being number 3 in Philly?
Yeah, because there's no pressure.
He better.
Yeah, there's no pressure when you got Embiid and Harden.
And his job gets easier.
Yeah, and his job gets easier
Because
because
if you pick and roll and Harden and Embiid and you got Jaylen Brown on the wing, like he's not gonna see double teams.
So it'd be so much easier for him, and he can attack the rim too.
But do you think he wants that though? In all honesty, though, I feel like Jaylen Brown's one of those I want to be the man type people.
I think he is too.
Nah, when you put him in the right situation, I believe like him and Boston, between him and Tatum, it's like the Embiid and Ben Simmons thing. Somebody wants to be the man, but who's going to step up? We already know who that was, Embiid. But you put him in Philly next to Harden and Embiid, I definitely take that any day of the week,
bro.
Because he's a better fit for what we need than Bradley Beal would be.
Wow.
So, Mike, real quick, and then we're gonna get to the last topic. So,
yes,
Chicago.
Yes, sir.
Haven't been looking great, and potentially have some decisions this summer.
Right.
Is this win now, or do you guys have a window in Chicago?
Ray, look at me, Ray. Don't look at me, Ray. Look at me in the face, Ray.
I'm waiting.
I want to have a conversation with you. Do you understand 85% of our roster is under the age of 25?
Now, how much of that is the premier talent that's scoring?
Zach LaVine, Lonzo Ball, Alex Caruso. We can go on. Patrick Williams. We got Ayo Dosunmu. The list goes on. I mean, we got some dogs. The only ones that are older is Javonte Green, Nikola Vucevic, who's only 30 years of age, and a couple other cats no one really cares about to even mention. Christian Thompson. I mean, come on, who cares? Doesn't matter. DeMar DeRozan is the obvious I am older. That's the big name. Now, you're playing like an MVP, and until you stop, LeBron James and many other individuals have proven time and time again, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, James Harden, not that he is skilled like them, but he is definitely putting in the work ethic of a Jimmy Butler type guy to the point to where he can hang with the best of them. And that's where I feel like when you look at this team, I think they can go as far as they want to go. And they can either be in a win now situation and they can trade a bunch of cats, or they can do exactly what they did at the deadline. And they said, we don't have to do anything. Because here's the way I look at the Bulls. It's completely unbiased. It's completely how I view it. We're excelling expectations. I was the only person that said the Bulls were going to be a top 5 seed, and they're still sitting at number 4. Chris Robinson was there as well. But I'll say this. Everybody else had us in the play-in, barely sniffing the play-in. So the fact that we were leading the East the first half of the season and we were dominating against a lot of good teams, even without these players and losing games. Ray, this one's for you. Losing games to Miami, to Philly, Marcus, I'm going to give you love where it's due. Philly busted our ass this year 4 times. And they busted our ass last year 4 times. They're killing shit. Billy Donovan sees Joel Embiid in his nightmares, and that's just a proven fact. And there's nothing you can do about it. And the big thing to me, though, Ray, every one of those games we lost, whether it be Memphis, whether all the Suns, Golden State, because D-Book gave us some work too. I got to see that in person. That was pretty dope. But it comes down to it. We lost those games by 6 or 10 with 3 starters out and Alex Caruso leading the bench out. We lost that without Lonzo Ball, Patrick Williams, Alex Caruso. We're only losing by 6. Ray, I'm excited for April, bro. When these cats get back, I think that the dynamic's going to change. Now, here's the reality. They're going to go up against Philly at some point. They're going to go up against Brooklyn at some point if they excel in the playoffs. Those are proven win-now teams. The Bulls right now, to me, remind me so much of Chris Robinson's Suns last year. Not this year, last year. They remind me of Miami in 2019, to where they had their DeMar DeRozan, who was Jimmy Butler, or last year was Chris Paul. And now you're looking at it as the rest of these guys are just young and unproven in the playoffs. I just want these guys to get a chance to play in the playoffs, get a little bit more into it, re-sign Zach LaVine, and then run it back. Because Ayo Dosunmu in the second round, this kid's looking like one of the best rookies that came out of the draft, and that's not even a lie. I ain't nowhere lied there, and the only reason he wasn't in, the All-Star game and all that, is because he's coming off the bench to Lonzo Ball. If he was starting, and this was a rebuilding team, if he was on the Rockets, that's a totally different conversation. But I do think this team is really good, and if Zach's willing to run it back and he wants a deal, I'll pay that man, like Con Man said, whatever he wants, because that's a problem for future Mike Hughes. That's not a problem for current Mike Hughes. We'll deal with that when it comes.
So you said a lot.
Well, because I seen you in the comments, Ray. I haven't been able to come on the show. I've been seeing you name dropping few of these losses. I just want you to know it was never by more than 10.
So, did you win or lose?
We lost. Okay. What do you want me to tell you?
I just want to be clear.
Hey, but Ray, didn't the Warriors just lose 9 of 11 games?
And I'm concerned about the Warriors.
Oh, but why? Because once these guys get back, I would be concerned about the Warriors, not for the Warriors.
Now, see, that's a funny thing because
I don't know.
If the Lakers, make it to the play-in and get it, I can see them beating the Warriors. I can see them beating the Warriors.
We went the whole show without talking about the Lakers at all.
I'm sorry, but
we almost made it.
If they play the Warriors, I can see them beating the Warriors in the first round.
I can see New Orleans. I can see New Orleans doing it if Zion came back.
He's practicing.
We look good.
But here's the thing with Chicago. What they in the 4th seed right now?
I think so.
So imagine if that thing shakes out with like 14 games left, basically, they might wind up playing Boston in the first round.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, they still got time to make it to 3. Cleveland, Philly, and Chicago might flip-flop in the season when it's all said and done. And I think they wind up playing Boston in the first round. I don't think they'll get out the first round for Chicago if I play Boston.
Nah, I think we got Boston. I think as long as you lock up. I mean, we have one of the best defenses when Alex Caruso, which is so weird. Ray was the one that gave me the stat. When Alex Caruso is on the Bulls, we have a top 3 defense in the league. When he's off, we're ranked 28. I think that's crazy. But it comes down to it. Lonzo Ball, amazing defender. Patrick Williams is baby Kawhi. We got not offensively, obviously. But then you got Alex Caruso and all these other Ayo Dosunmu and all these other pads. I would be fine playing Boston. It's Philly, it's Brooklyn, it's Miami, it's even Milwaukee that I'm terrified of because they're just bigger and they're badder and they're stronger. And that's the point to where it's like, especially with Marcus. Marcus just busted my ass 11 times in a row. I haven't beat Philly since 2019. So it's like I'm terrified of Philly. I don't give a shit about Milwaukee or anything. Philly's my Achilles heel.
And that's my concern with Paul. To be honest, like I think the talent's great, and I think DeMar DeRozan has had an MVP-like season, but I don't think he's the number 1 on the championship team. And I think you get in the playoffs, and you got to get a bucket, and they throw Giannis at him. I think he has a hard time, and I don't think you can stop Giannis.
No, I don't think so either. And that's my thing, though, Ray. Is like I just feel like my problem is this team went from maybe they're still rebuilding to this is a win now situation. This is the first year. All these guys are on rookie deals aside from Zach LaVine and DeMar, who were locked up for years. It comes down to it to where it's like, we don't need to win a championship this year. This is just like, hey, we're rocking with this. I'm excited about this. And I'm really looking forward to the future and the development of this team. Patrick Williams played 3 games. I have no idea how he's going to look when he gets back. But going in the next year, I'm excited. And you know what? If they wanted at some point, let's say Minnesota blows up. If you want to throw Patrick Williams, Nikola Vucevic, and a bunch of picks to get Karl Anthony Towns in Chicago or something like that, I'm rocking with it.
Oh, yeah, they definitely a fun team to watch right now. That's no doubt about that.
But we're not there yet, Ray. No. We're in a place right now where we're building, and we're just exceeding expectations while we're doing it. So that's something for me to be really excited about.
Okay. All right. As long as you recognize where y'all at this year. Yeah, next year is a different year, a lot of moving pieces.
Yeah.
Last topic I do want to get to is we live in a content society. You know, everybody, Kwame Brown, when he first started his podcast, was talking crazy. People start new ventures. They say crazy things for shock value. I get it. But I think there's a certain level of disdain I have for certain people when you live through something and then you try to discredit it. I feel a certain way. So Jason Williams, been a huge fan of his up until recently. Came out and said that he doesn't even know if Kobe Bryant is a top 5 Laker of all time. I didn't watch it. I saw the visuals out. If they smoke weed on the show, I'm not sure what he prompted him to say that. But I just want to get everyone's thoughts on, is that something that should be questioned? Are there 5 other Lakers that you could argue are better than Kobe Bryant? I'll start with you, Marcus.
You don't want to start with me because I agree with Jason Williams.
That's why
you and I are done. Marcus, you and I are done.
There you go. For shock value, there you go. So let's just put it in this perspective, because if you say Kobe not even top 5 Laker, he's not even a top 5 player, if that's the
which
case.
is just absurd.
Right, and to me, Kobe doesn't even crack my top 5. So I agree with Jason Williams.
Chris Webber's on your top 5. Don't do that.
I know, but hey, that's me. So if you want to go, so it all depends on who he classifies as top 5. Is he going Magic, Kareem, Shaq, Will Chamberlain, Jerry West? Like who was his top 5 for me to be like, all right, Kobe, who's Kobe spot? Who's spot Kobe taking?
I don't know that he listed the top 5. It was just
I don't think he listed anyone. He just said Kobe made our
Right,
top
so
5.
yeah, I find that a little hard to believe.
Yeah.
That when it comes to Lakers, let me just say Lakers, because if it's just the Lakers, then I disagree with him. But if he say Kobe's our top 5 player, then
I said
wholeheartedly agree with him.
Lakers.
So if it's just the Lakers, then I think he has his own opinion on that. Like that's his opinion. He didn't give a top 5 of who Kobe would be all for. So until I know that, I just know that Kobe's just not a top 5 player. But as far as Lakers go, he probably in the top 3, maybe.
Okay. Mike Hughes, what you got?
Marcus, you upset me tonight. And you know, the first 4 names, I was like, I'll hear them out. Jerry West is only known because he is one of the logos of the NBA. And other than that, no one gives a shit. That's just point blank, period.
It's arguably the greatest loser ever.
He is. And you know what?
It's not even arguable.
I want to throw out a little promotion real quick, a little non-paid promotion. HBO Max is dropping the new Lakers show, all about Magic Johnson. It has been amazing. It has proven Jerry West is not only not a great basketball player, but a piece of shit human being. He is a horrible person. And if you watch that show and it shows you the true colors of how he treated Magic Johnson and a bunch of other cats on that team because of the color of their skin, that's a whole conversation for a different day. But Jerry West will never crack my top 5 anything. I don't even care if it's top 5 white boys I've seen in 24 hours and I saw him 5 seconds ago. He is not on my list whatsoever. I don't care.
Top 5 GM?
No, I don't. Because you know what? The reality situation is he didn't want Magic Johnson. He didn't. He wanted Larry Bird. And that's fine. It probably would have worked out regardless. But the reality of the situation is Bus is the only reason that they believed in Magic, because Bus bought the team and then he went right under everybody and got Magic Johnson. But here's what I'll say. Alex Caruso is obviously one of the greatest Lakers of all time. And then anybody else can follow. But Alex Caruso, come on. The headband, that's White Mamba. That's White Mamba right there.
And he got just as many rings as Jerry West with the Lakers.
Exactly. So come on, bro. Come on, bro. I mean, if Marcus could say Jerry West, I could say another white boy who is at least a better human being in Alex Caruso. But in all seriousness, Kobe to me is the 3rd greatest Laker of all time. And it took me being born in 2000 a lot of reflecting to do that. Because obviously Kobe was my guy. He's my first guy that really inspired me to watch the game of basketball outside of Derrick Rose and others. But it comes down to it. Magic Johnson was great. Magic Johnson was amazing. Shaquille O'Neal is just overall dominant. And I think when you look at it like one-on-one, I don't know how you can stop Shaq. And then I guess you could put, Wilt, Kareem, whoever else you want to put. But Kobe's definitely in that top 5. There's no question about it.
So Mike, I'm going to ask you, and I've asked this people. I think we had this conversation a couple weeks ago. Mm-hmm. Magic Johnson.
Yes, sir.
When did he not play with multiple Hall of Famers?
Probably the majority of the time.
When? Through the 80s?
No, not early. But you know what I mean? Like he didn't play with scrubs, if we're being completely real about it.
So that's my point. Everybody gives Magic credit, and I'm not here to bash Magic. Love Magic. But there has to be a certain level of Allen Iverson that you go through.
Right.
Like, if you playing with Kareem and Worthy and West and Cooper and Thompson
right,
for extended periods of time, you should probably have a lot of assists.
Right.
You probably are not going to see double teams, so you probably should put up some points.
Right.
Like, does he have some big moments playing all 5 positions, playing center? Sure. It's a great narrative.
Mm-hmm.
But he wasn't playing with Smush Parker.
Right. But do you think it's more of understanding your role, and that's truly the validity of it is like I look at Lonzo Ball. Now, obviously, these aren't Hall of Famers on the Chicago Bulls, but you have DeMar DeRozan, you have all-stars like Zach LaVine. Lonzo's putting up 10 points a game? Con man, he's not doing nothing. But at the end of the day, he knows his role. And at those times, Magic knew his role. And when Magic was by himself, he put up numbers.
My point is,
at what point do we have to stop, in general, discrediting people for winning with the team they were drafted to, basically? It ain't like Magic said, hey, I'm in the Celtics and now I'm playing like Larry Bird. He got drafted to the Lakers, and he is one of the reasons that the Lakers won a title when Kareem went down. So at some point, we got to stop discrediting people for having teammates that can put the ball in the basket, basically.
Yeah, without a doubt. And if we're gonna do that, we have to do it about Kevin Durant.
We have to do it about Michael Jordan too.
Right, Michael Jordan and a bunch of other cats. Because Kevin Durant, when you really look at it, he's played with Kyrie Irving, Klay Thompson, Stephen Curry, James Harden, Russell Westbrook, James Harden again, and a bunch of other cats that are solid. And he doesn't have as many rings as he probably should. That's the reality of the situation, right? Like, to me, at least, where it's
because he played with Russell Westbrook, and we're seeing what everybody calling
that's
it. What
cool.
it is.
That's cool, but you just said that Magic played with Jerry West, and that's a comparison?
I named a bunch of people, Hall of Famer, top 75 players.
How many of them were in their prime?
Almost all of them.
I don't know about that.
I mean, when you look at it,
Kareem was like 74 years old when they played together.
Oh God.
Okay, sure, but he was still a huge part of that organization. And
Jerry West in his prime is getting buckets thrown on him today, and I'll stand by that.
I agree with that.
So, how many MVPs does Magic have? Answer me that.
I don't got the number for you. I'm not a Freddie. Where's Freddie?
Like league MVPs?
Yeah,
like 4. Not 4. Ray's making face.
No, I think he got 2.
I don't think he has any.
2.
I'm trying to tell y'all.
Yeah, he don't have any league MVPs. Okay. He has a Finals MVP.
He got 3
you got Finals MVP.
3 Finals MVP. Okay. So are you trying to say Magic's overrated?
I'm saying he shouldn't be ahead of Kobe. Like, by no stretch, they both got 5 rings. Kobe beat Boston as well, but Kobe won with Pau Gasol. And I like Pau, but
yeah, Pau wasn't who he was. Yeah, he was older.
Like the supporting cast is a little different for the 2 teams,
right?
And so I feel like Magic and Bird get a ton of credit, but they played on absolutely stacked teams. That's why they went to the finals and played each other like 7 years in the 80s, because the teams were just so much better than everybody else. And I just think that doesn't get discussed enough when talking about this Lakers hierarchy and where Kobe was and what he had to go through. Now, Magic has the smile, he has the charisma, he's the Laker, he's Showtime, he's all that.
Hey, would you say
he lived in a great situation? He ain't never played for the Bullets.
Would you say Magic's just an overall positive guy?
Wow.
I almost went somewhere with you on that, and I'm not gonna go there.
You don't think he's positive?
He's definitely positive.
I think he's very positive.
He's been positive for a long time. He's very positive.
I love his morals. He's just a very positive guy overall.
I'll see y'all in hell.
He's everything but positive, and that's all you can ask in this world, right?
But no, that's just my thing. Like, Jason Williams is clickbait. You made yourself relevant. Go get jacked like Mike Bibby or something. I don't know. But it was just.
I don't know what the hell Mike Bibby did to himself. But damn, he didn't look like one of them Planet of the Apes type players. I was like, man, this dude got arms, biceps, head a little bigger, like chest poking out like this. I'm like, yeah, you taking Planet of the Apes steroids and shit like that?
He turned into something completely different.
Right. Because of your Magic Johnson thing, it had me thinking about something. I was gonna do it for next week's topic, but we're here now. Are you about to wrap up?
No, go ahead.
Yeah, can I say one thing, folks?
Oh, go ahead.
Ray, your question was the best Laker. Now, what is the definition of a Laker? To me, longevity. Shaquille O'Neal, was he with the Lakers all time? Nope. Lou Alcindor, was he with the Lakers all time? Nope. If you're going to talk about a Laker, that means something. Magic was with the Lakers for the duration. So was Kobe. You got to take that, and Jerry West. You have to, if you're going to talk about Lakers, or you're going to talk about individual. To me, if you're saying Lakers, I'm talking about longevity. So I think you guys have good points, but Shaquille was with Orlando. Alcindor was with Milwaukee. These guys transferred to the Lakers. Kobe was always a Laker. Will Chamberlain.
Well, Kobe was a Hornet. He wasn't always a Laker, but he was a Hornet.
He was like a Hornet for like 2 seconds.
He was a Hornet. He wasn't a straight Laker.
He put
But, I mean, you can't help where you're drafted. I mean, that's just who picked him.
Correct. Now, if you're talking Laker, you have to go longevity.
So,
like
Tim Duncan and Dirk Nowitzki, those are San Antonio and those are Dallas. Drafted, got it. They're just there. Kobe drafted Charlotte, traded to LA.
Correct.
Right, but would you? I mean, Kobe wasn't even a Hornet for 24 hours.
Right? No, that don't count.
Like that's like saying Luka still has the Hawks.
That's just like Scottie Pippen getting drafted to Seattle and then right to Chicago.
Hey, you know.
Come on now.
So Scottie, that's a great
So
point.
Luka's not a Maverick then. He's a Hawk.
He's a Hawk.
So what
Hey,
is
whoever's in your top 5, I'm never listening to anything else you ever say, Marcus.
My top 5 is
so Scottie Pippen's not a bull?
legit.
Are we saying Scottie Pippen's not a bull?
Hey, if he keeps talking about Michael the way he be talking, we ain't claiming him.
Well, yeah.
Because he didn't finish. He left Chicago.
Hey, he went to the Trailblazers.
Hell, Jordan left Chicago.
That's true.
Michael went to a whole different sport. So I mean, what is Michael? He's not even a basketball player.
He stayed in Chicago though.
No, came back to Washington.
That's what you.
Oh, yeah.
And let's not forget, Kobe was almost a
Kobe was gonna go to Chicago.
Bulls. He was almost a member until LA came in the final hour getting what he wanted.
They had to get their life together. And so he was one of the original power players that said, get this right or I'm gone.
I'm still upset about it.
They figured it out.
6-year-old Mike was ecstatic, and that was my first real heartbreak in life.
And so we can close with this. Chris, how heartbreaking is it in hindsight that they nixed?
Hey, nah, that's not what we're closing with, man. We're not bringing that up.
Oh no!
Oh,
Next.
man.
All right, here we go. All right.
What does that do to Chris Paul if he ends up?
Huh?
Right now, you argue Chris Paul as a top 5 point guard.
Point God.
He goes to the Lakers. Him and Kobe easily get 3 rings.
Yeah.
Like that's no give it because at the time,
I think they 3-peat.
yeah, at the time, Chris Paul is definitely the top point guard in the NBA. You're arguing Chris Paul and Williams,
Right.
and then Williams is like, you know what, I suck now. So,
He fell off a cliff.
dude,
Yeah,
like
that was
just
that was
one
a
day.
hard fall.
Backflip on his way down,
Right.
too. That man didn't give a shit.
That was a hard fall from Greece. What Williams been through. Jesus.
Mhm.
I mean, hell, what was it like 2 years before? Chris Paul and Kobe were going for MVP. Like that year Kobe won MVP, you could have given it to Chris Paul and nobody's mad.
Right.
No, but I got you.
Do what?
Ray, you're always mad, bro.
It's because of Steve Nash. I'll give Chris Paul 1 if we take Steve Nash's 2.
That's fine with me. I don't claim Steve.
Yeah, okay. Steve Nash deserved 1 of them.
No, he didn't.
No, he did. He didn't deserve that second one. I don't think.
Yeah, the second one Shaq should have got.
Hey, listen, we got to change the subject because I'm going to start on my Karl Malone rant after I read some things about Karl Malone I didn't know happened.
How did that come up with this?
Hey, Carl, you're a dirty man. You are a foul human being. That's all I'm going to say on that. But
Dude, that story gets even worse like the more you get into it.
I kept reading. I had to stop.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say it's terrible.
I gotta read this story then.
Oh, Karl Malone's like
Marcus,
the
I'm
worst
a
people
single
alive.
Foul, bro. Foul, bro.
But So Chris Paul goes to Kobe. I mean, that makes him easily top. Hell, you
Is
can
he
put him
better
behind
than
Magic.
Curry?
So what?
Is he better than Curry?
I don't think
If he goes to the
game.
Lakers, I don't know because Curry changed the game. That's the thing you got to look at.
Comment, you're
on
muted.
mute. Yeah, he
Comment.
on mute.
But if Chris Paul goes to the Lakers, that changes like the whole league. I mean,
Yeah, it tears it up. That's a second. That's literally the Bulls 90s. That's the second three-peat.
Hey,
You got the first one with Shaq, then you got the second one with CP3.
hey, Chris, you know I love you, man. I love Chris Paul. He can't touch Zeke at all.
I think he touches him. I think he touches
oh,
him.
if he goes to the Lakers, you don't put Isaiah above Chris Paul. Because the only thing about Chris Paul right now is rings. That's the only thing you can say negative about Chris Paul.
Yep.
I
I would say his performance in the playoffs is a thing too.
Because that ties into the rings though. Is what I'm saying.
No, it does, but it doesn't. Like we got guys who choke in the playoffs that got rings. You know what I mean?
He doesn't choke in the playoffs. He gets hurt in the playoffs.
Right.
Do y'all know how good Isaiah Thomas was? He beat Jordan. He beat Bird. He beat damn near everybody.
He didn't even make the Olympics.
He beat who?
What?
He beat who, comment?
Who he beat?
Who he beat?
Larry Bird,
Uh-huh.
Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson.
Michael Jordan and who?
Only guy to beat all of them.
Michael Jordan and who?
Okay, Michael Jordan was like 17 years old.
I swear to God, he was 17.
Larry Bird was 46 at the time. I mean,
Y'all, come on now.
Comment, I know. Comment, it's not like that. It's not like that.
Damn, boy, y'all disrespecting Isaiah Thomas like that.
no, I'm not knocking Isaiah, but I'm just saying
I like IT till he started talking shit. Now, I don't rock with IT.
All right, let me tell y'all something. Name another point guard that has done what he's done as far as championships. Name one.
Steph Curry.
Isaiah.
Yeah. Name one that won back to back. Name one.
Steph Curry.
Point guard. Name one. Talk to me.
Stephen Curry.
Wardell does have two back to back.
But look who we had with him. Who did Isaiah have? Latimer, Curly, and Neal.
Oh, the big. But then, see, here's the crazy part. Chris loves this too, because Ray and I talk about it. Chris and I talk about it. Oh, but the bad boy Pistons were so physical, they could beat the 72-9 Warriors. They could beat just about anybody. The 90s were different. Y'all don't understand. Y'all young bucks are so horrible nowadays. Y'all don't understand how the game was back then. But if they were as good as you say they were, then he had help.
He had a lot of help defensively.
Right, which is
he had
great.
Rodman, he had Mahorn, he had Lambeer.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? One year they had Aguirre. The first year they had Dantley. Then they shipped him out, and they got Aguirre, and then winning that year.
So then
but anyway, Sally, fellas, come on. Dumas was nice. Benny Johnson was nice. But come on. I bet y'all came and named the rest of the team. Zeke was on 6 feet. Bird, 6'9". Magic Johnson 6'8". Jordan 6'6". Isaiah 6 foot. And don't tell me he wasn't 6 foot because I met him. I got pictures I can show y'all. He's smaller than me.
I believe you.
Oh, for real? I'll show you pictures.
Hey, after Jordan beat you down for an entire decade, I'd lose a couple inches too, though. So that makes sense.
That's a good point. Yeah, all right. But hey, prior to that though, because what happens, it goes in seasons. Like for example, every team that's won the NBA championship except Golden State, they had to go through the hard times. The Lakers had to go through the Celtics.
Comment. Can I ask you something though?
You can ask me anything you want.
I just want to know like, say for a young Jordan, Isaiah beat a young Jordan, right? So the teams that beat LeBron James when LeBron James was only 19 years of age in the finals, do you give them that credit of, oh, you beat LeBron James? Because he didn't have anybody on that roster and he was 19 years old.
Great question. I would go with you, but he not only beat all of them, not just one. He beat all of them.
We can do that.
I'll go with young Jordan, but he beat Magic. He beat Bird. Think about it. At 6 foot, if that. Now, all your MVPs, Steph Curry, like as I said, besides Golden State, who do you know has done what Isaiah has done as a point guard to lead their team to a championship? I guarantee you, you can't name nobody. You can go with Steph. I'll go with that. But other than that, who? And Steph 6'3".
Magic Johnson is a point guard.
6'9".
Point guard.
Hey, I'll tell you. It would have been.
First of all, Magic Johnson is not a point guard.
What is he?
Okay. See, now here's where my old school comes in. A prototypical guard, the point guard plays the other team's point guard in the old days, the way it was. Magic Johnson was 6'9". He never played the other team's point guard.
Because he could play everybody else.
But he didn't play nobody's point guard?
He played the point guard. He played the 2 guard.
On offense.
He played the 3. He played the 4 defensively and the 5.
But he was not a prototypical point guard, fellas.
No, not prototypical, but he did it.
That's what I'm talking about. Because I'm old school. I know y'all younger than me, so I got to fall back.
I get what you're saying.
He's not a prototypical guy because mano mano. If I'm a point guard, I'm playing the other team's point guard. Magic plays the other team's weak person.
This ain't all full. NBA basketball.
But at that time, though, you're really gonna what point guard is really gonna go up against though? I mean, he's gonna defend Isaiah a little bit. He's not gonna pick him up 94 feet. No. But what other guard is on the same level as Magic Johnson for him to even worry about?
Hey,
that's a good question. All I'm saying, prototypical. Come on. Point guard plays point guard. Shooting guard plays shooting guard. Small forward goes against a small forward. Power forward goes against a power forward. Center goes against a center. That's old school. That's how it is. Magic Johnson was a unique talent. Phenomenal to be able to handle the ball at his height at 6'9". But when I hear point guard, I say he's a point forward.
Bro, let me tell you something. Chris Paul.
Point guard.
That's point guard. That's point guard. Chris Paul, point guard.
Correct. 100%.
How when Steph Curry got a better handle, Kyrie got a better handle. Hell, Jamal probably got the best handle.
Real talk.
Let
me ask you something though, Marcus. Who leads that Golden State Warriors offense? Is it Stephen Curry or Draymond Green?
Good question. Go ahead, Marcus.
Who leads the Nets? Kyrie Irving or Kevin Durant? Or Ben Simmons?
Or leading the team?
If you want to say Draymond dribbles the ball up a lot, you can say that, but he ain't really.
He's facilitating. He's facilitating.
Yeah,
when Steph shoots the ball from 35, that's not facilitating.
It's not. It's shooting the ball from 35 and being an asshole and shooting the ball from 35. That's just, that's not, dude. You're not even there, bro. You're still on the other side of the.
Realistically, if Steph Curry and Dame Lillard were 6'7", they're 2 guards.
Steph can go out there and get you 12 assists.
What'd you say, Ray? I can't hear you.
Steph can go out there and get you 12 assists.
What?
Just call it what they are. He's a point guard. He has been and always will be a point guard.
He's a point guard. He ain't no point guard.
What makes
him a point guard? The only reason he's a point guard
and being hurt a bunch?
Yes.
Okay.
Because Derrick Rose is
that kind of guy. That's unreliable.
Hey, Chris, let's just face the fact, Chris, that Chris Paul is who Chris Paul is. He's not even a top 5 point guard, period. Hell, he might not even crack the top 10 point guards. Period. Chris Paul.
Hey, Marcus.
Are you serious right now?
Oh, yeah.
The Bulls are great, John. Now, Ray, pull it back up, Ray. They're doing great, John. Thanks for asking.
Marcus, give me 5 point guards, right? Your top 5 point guards.
Right now.
You know, Chris Webber's in your top 5 of all time. I don't care. Anything you say is disqualified.
Oh man, I got the bounce. You got
point guards.
Marcus.
I like point guards that know how to distribute, get their guys involved, run the offense. I'm gonna go.
And you don't want Chris Paul?
No, I'm gonna go with Rondo, Jason Kidd, Steve.
Oh
Nash,
God.
Steve Nash.
I'm out.
Magic and Steph.
Magic. James Harden. I put as a point guard. I go with him. And
wait, what?
Yep.
So Chris,
I'll take Tony Parker over Chris Paul.
Oh,
What?
get them rings.
Oh man.
But real talk,
This is what I came back to. I've been gone for weeks.
Mike, I'm happy you're here to witness this because if I told you this happened, you wouldn't believe me.
I just can't believe I made Chris spit out his water. That's what I'm really happy about.
Chris, what makes to you Chris Paul a better point guard than John Stockton?
That's a good question.
He didn't play with Bruno.
That's a good question.
That's a good question.
Very good.
Who? Okay, the same reason you just said Magic. What it's like
John
no
Stockton
rated
played
Laker.
with one guy.
What?
He played with one guy.
Okay,
Chris Paul's played with a bunch of people.
but look at what that guy's played. Look at what that guy did. That guy's number 2 on the
Chris
scoring
Paul
list.
play with? Who played? Who did?
Karl Malone is number 2 on the scoring list. So right there, I mean,
Give me the list of great players that Chris Paul's had.
He played with.
so what?
Barry Rice has a bunch of stats because of the quarterback he played with.
No. But Ray, tell me the legit. When he was a Clipper, Blake Griffin was.
Don't do that. Let's not revise history like Blake Griffin wasn't an
No,
all.
let's not forget history.
Okay, Blake Griffin was an all-star for dunking.
Y'all definitely. Y'all underrated that Clippers team.
So DeAndre Jordan wasn't a baller. Lou Williams wasn't a baller.
Wait, okay. Was DeAndre Jordan a baller or was he a baller with Chris Paul?
Lou Williams wasn't on the same court at the same time as Chris Paul.
There were times he closed finished games. He did. He won 6th man of the year.
Not with Chris Paul. He was still in Houston. Lou Williams came with the Chris Paul trade.
I gotta check. I'm pretty sure they was on the same team together.
Mm-mm.
No, Lou Williams was the Chris Paul trade.
So
Gotcha.
just so I'm clear, Chris Paul just played with Devin Booker as well and lost.
He's playing with Devin Booker now.
And look what happened the first year.
They lost.
They won.
They lost in the finals.
They did something he'd never done.
Right.
Well,
Right.
They did something they had done. Chris Paul done that was lost. So yeah.
So then
Not in the finals.
what we're saying is they're comparable.
So John Stockton lost in the finals.
The Michael Jordan.
Giannis Antetokounmpo. The next face of the league.
So that's what we're gonna do. That we're gonna put that
What's wrong with Giannis?
Could you say
What's
Giannis
wrong
is
with Giannis?
right now? Is Giannis the best player in the
team
NBA?
against that Bulls team?
Listen, let me tell you something. Right now, Ray. This man had a hyper knee extension, dropping 40. Respect that man.
So you're taking last year's Bucks team over that 98 Bulls team.
I ain't said that at all. All I'm
What
saying,
are we talking about?
Giannis Antetokounmpo
I'm with you.
built different.
I'm with you. And I'm saying John
Holiday
Stockton
understood
and
his
Karl
role.
Malone win 6 games against that Bulls team.
And I hear you. on that.
And we win 6 games against Giannis.
Right.
Arguably the best player in the league right now.
That Bucks team can't hold that Bulls team jockstrap.
But what does that have anything to do with anything?
My point is, why is Chris Paul better than John Stockton? That was how we started this conversation. And y'all started asking about
What legendary player was Chris Paul with? James Harden. And they were a pulled hamstring away from going to the finals.
But they didn't get there. I don't want to hear about what they almost did. Because if John Stockton doesn't play Michael Jordan, you might have more rings.
Probably do. They definitely do. That was a good team too. Hey, and you know what? You know what though?
He got there with Greg Olsen.
Something Chris Paul didn't do. He wasn't best friends with a criminal. But hey, that's a different conversation for a different day.
I think I could make a little something to that. John Stockton is so far ahead of the next point guard as far as assists. Y'all can look it up. He is so far above everybody else. So
because he has Karl Malone just camping out in the post.
Chris Paul had Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan catching lobs all day.
That was it.
Tyson Chandler.
So you're comparing Blake Griffin to Karl Malone.
You're saying because of the pick and roll offense they was running and him dishing, it was the same concept.
What?
Pick and roll. They both ran pick and roll, right?
Hey, Ray,
Yes.
Ray, can I ask you a serious question, sir?
There was a bunch of pick and roll and lobs in the break.
So Malone couldn't do a mid range.
Ray,
You don't get an assist for passing somebody and they go ISO and hit a mid range shot.
Ray, can I ask you a serious question,
He didn't
sir?
have to.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Did you stretch?
Right?
Because you're reaching right now. I just want to make sure you stretch, but I don't want you to pull something, bro.
Hey, Ray, I'm with you, Ray. That's not a stretch.
Nah, hey, listen, Chris Webber. Listen, Chris Webber. I don't want to hear it. I didn't even know about that.
Show. Yo, this is a great show. I love this. Yo,
I didn't even know about your top 5 markers. I must have missed that episode.
You did.
Yeah, man. That's my top 5, and I'm sticking
I
to
think
it.
I missed it too. I think.
Chris Webber's in his top. Chris Webber's in his top 5 in his position. But anyway.
My point is, I think there's a lot of people. If you can't definitively put John Stockton behind Chris Paul, I think there's a bunch of people you can put ahead of Chris Paul in the top 5.
Okay, who are you putting above him?
Zeke.
I got Isaiah, I got Steph, I got Magic. I'll take Jason Kidd, and I'll take John Stockton.
Y'all forget about Nate Archibald.
I haven't seen the Archibald play, so I can't see that.
I can't even speak to that.
See, that's where I gotta step off because I'm old. I'm too old for y'all. I gotta step back. Go ahead. Y'all do your thing. I'm too old, man. Go ahead, do your thing.
So that's 5. That's not even, that was without thinking. And if I really get into some other people, like I can start arguing. I can argue like Gary Payton. I can start arguing other people that are comparable in accomplishment to what Chris Paul's accomplished. What has he accomplished?
Who has he been with? Like everybody you just said had that Hall of Fame person with them.
I don't know. I like Rondo over Chris Paul any day of the week. So
who played with 3 Hall of Famers?
I like Rondo too, but let's not pretend like he didn't play with a bunch of guys.
Nah, let's not forget Rondo was that driving force of the Boston winning the championship.
Right, but if we talk about guys
over Kevin Garnett,
right? But
he was a defender. He was getting them in their sets. I think he was dropping triple doubles.
I'm sorry.
Rondo was getting triple doubles. I'll give you that.
Real quick, I said Lou Williams. I meant Jamal Crawford. So no, he didn't play with Lou Williams, but he did play with Jamal Crawford.
Okay, yeah, I'll give you that.
And I think Jamal Crawford got better handles than Chris Paul.
We're not talking about his handles.
But y'all say point guard.
You're talking about
if I'm listening correctly.
All right, what about his court vision? Next, probably LeBron James, probably the only player in the NBA who has a better IQ than Chris Paul.
So just like we got into a couple different things. So Chris Paul on that Clippers team, he played with Wesley Johnson, who's solid, Jamal Crawford, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan, Paul Pierce, JJ Redick, and Austin Rivers, and Mo Spates. Those are good players. Like
Wesley Johnson's career highlight is James Harden breaking his ankles. Come on, man.
Again, we're talking about talent. And so I can go 6 or 7 deep. Again, I said the wrong person. Jamal Crawford was in the running and winning 6 Man of the Years. With all-stars, with all-stars like Blake Griffin, and DeAndre Jordan was right there, and he had Doc Rivers as his coach.
Now, my thing is, though, are Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan only all-stars because they're with Chris Paul? What did they do without Chris Paul?
Okay, so you can make that the same way you make the argument about what was Sean Kemp without Gary Payton. Like, you can take away different people and say, well, what would they be without this person for everybody? The fact is, when they played together, what did they accomplish? And Chris Paul has had teams that he should have won series and didn't for whatever reason.
No, that's true.
That has to get factored into the accomplishments. If I go back and look at that Utah team, there's a bunch of people. Brian Russell, what was Byron Russell really? You said Williams is known for getting his ankle broken. Byron Russell's known for getting the shot hit on him against Michael Jordan.
That was a foul.
Regardless, that's what he's known for. So if you're going to make those kind of arguments, you can make those arguments for everybody. Like, who did John Wall play with? Like, he hasn't played with a bunch of superstars or Hall of Famers. John Wall's never had a team as loaded as that Clippers team was. So
you put John Wall on that team, do they win?
I think so.
Shut up! No, you don't.
Yeah, because John Wall wasn't getting hurt back then.
LA?
He wasn't getting hurt then. The run with Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan.
He was pushing LeBron in those Cavs teams. Underman. If it wasn't for LeBron, they might have got to the Eastern Conference Finals or a championship, but they couldn't get past LeBron. Like, Chris Paul has underperformed. I don't care how you look at it, and he doesn't have enough, to me, individual accolades. He don't got triple doubles like Russell Westbrook. He don't got MVPs like.
And
James.
that's the thing. He's not an individual player though.
So
because he's a true point guard.
But if we're comparing
everybody else in.
But if we're comparing point guards, he didn't have a Russell Westbrook type year. Russell Westbrook statistically has put up far superior years to Chris Paul. So why is Chris Paul a better point guard than Russell Westbrook?
Besides, you're only looking at the stats on Westbrook. That's it. That's the only thing you can say. Like he has triple doubles.
They both got
okay.
They both
triple doubles. Like Kevin, he has 10 assists. But he also has 6 turnovers. So does that really mean anything?
But he doesn't miss games.
Maybe he should.
But Chris Paul did. So my point is, in individual accolades and statistics, by what measures Chris Paul better than any of these people?
Stat-wise, he's not. I'm not going to sit there and tell you he is.
He doesn't contribute more to winning.
Yes, no, that's not true. Every team he goes to gets better.
But would have they won one?
They
I would argue,
like OKC. That year he went to OKC, they were supposed to be a lottery team.
Russell Westbrook had a similar team in the playoffs too. They overperformed.
That team was supposed to be a lottery team, though. No, that was not a similar team. The only thing that was there was Steven Adams. It was Steven Adams. That's the only common ground. Shea was there.
A bunch of all-stars on that team besides maybe Paul George. And we all know what Paul George is. We saw Paul George in the playoffs. Absolutely disappeared.
Paul George is an MVP candidate, though.
And in the playoffs, what did he do?
But he was an MVP candidate. Like, so you can't knock Paul George. You can't knock Carmelo. Top 75.
I mean, I can if you don't perform when you're supposed to perform. My point is, I've seen nothing from Chris Paul. When people say point guard and all this, based on what? Right. When he was in New Orleans,
his court vision, his ability to make people he makes your players better. He's gonna make your team better. You can't say he doesn't make your team better.
What did he do for New Orleans? What did they accomplish?
They weren't relevant at all. They were a lottery team. He got them in the playoffs.
So Russell Westbrook did the same thing. That Wizards team last year, and I think Bradley Beal had a lot more to do with it, but a lot of people give him credit for that team. That team was awful to start the year. And then they got going. And people credit Russ. That was an awful team.
It was.
Yeah, that team was awful. We took them out with like 3 players. Philadelphia.
My point is, there's a bunch of those guys that I would put on a very comparable level, and I can argue we're better than Chris Paul. So when people say he's a no doubt top 5, that's just false. The 5 I named.
Yeah, that is false. Like you can't.
There's nothing on winning or statistics that you can say that Chris Paul is better than John Stockton.
What team could you say Chris Paul did not make better that he's been on?
Did he make?
Okay, I mean, there's a lot of players who didn't win.
So what team
is Chris Paul the only player who didn't win a championship? That's an elite player.
No, but if I'm comparing him to top 5, I got to compare him to the people that won.
As of right now, okay, give me your top 5 2 guards.
Jordan, Kobe, Wade, Harden.
Okay, I knew you were going to say Harden because he's always he has to be right. What has he won?
MVP.
With who?
Houston.
Who was his second man? The year he won MVP.
Chris Paul.
Chris Paul got there. He got
Chris Paul. He won MVP with Chris Paul.
Okay.
That was his best year.
So why didn't Chris Paul win it?
Chris Paul he's not that player. He's making you better.
That disqualified you from being a top 5. You're saying you're not that player.
No. That's not his game. He's making you better. He's facilitating the offense.
But James Harden was still putting up similar numbers. he was scoring like 40 or whatever. The only reason James Harden didn't win like 3 MVPs in a row is because Russ was averaging a triple-double. But James Harden was averaging like 35.
Okay.
So he should, outside
But he
of
didn't.
scoring, had he not.
What did you just tell me earlier? We're not doing what should have happened, what could have happened.
But
Actual.
he won the one only because Russell had already won the 2 or 3 triple-doubles in a row, and so they didn't give him enough credit.
So
But
what point?
No, he won it that year because they were a 65-win
So
team
who would
because
you
he had
compare
Chris Paul with him.
to that
Chris
hasn't-
Paul made the Rockets better.
Who would you compare him to that hasn't won the title as far as point guards go?
What do you mean?
So you saying who you compare him to that hasn't won rings, basically. So everybody, well, the top 5 that we mentioned, they all won rings.
John Stockton didn't.
But then he
I mean,
comps at John
Jason
Stockton.
Kidd got a courtesy ring with the Mavericks.
no, we don't do that.
No, I ain't gonna say that because even at the back, he was
the
still
starting
shooting
point
the
guard of that
ball,
team.
playing defense, and shooting threes. So
He changed his
Gary
game.
Payton got a courtesy ring with the Heat.
Okay. So they got rings.
But I'm just saying though, like, so okay,
And
so if Chris
they have
Paul,
ring stats
so
and
if
individual accolades,
if Chris Paul comes off the bench and gets a ring,
that helps his legacy.
I don't think it does.
No, I definitely disagree because we'll have this argument 20 years from now and say, but he got a ring. And that same thing I would use to put him above somebody like Gary Payton, they'd be equal. And so now we have to look at something else.
But I don't think
Gary Payton
that's
would've got
the
that
same
ring.
because he doesn't contribute to that ring.
now, if he would have got that ring with the Lakers at the end of his career, you'd be like, all right, Gary Payton up there.
Exactly.
We disagree.
Like I mean, like Robert Horry has 7 rings.
You know I'm gonna
But he
make a
doesn't,
case
but
for
he
Robert
doesn't have
Horry.
stats.
You know I'm gonna make a case for Robert Horry all
As
day
what?
long because he got 7 rings and he's the reason why they won rings.
But you have to have, it's not just all or nothing. It's a combination. I have rings, I had great stats, and I was the best player in my era. You got to have all.
Okay, so you can't say
gotta
Chris
have all
Paul
of
was the best point guard in his era?
I think he was top in his era, but I don't think he was definitively the number one.
There was a time, we just said it earlier, there was a time we would say Chris Paul was the number 1 point guard in the NBA.
We said it would go back between him and Williams, and then Williams fell off.
So that makes him number 1.
No, they went back. I think you could argue either one.
But
And
if
then
Williams fell off, then who
There was
became number
Rondo,
1?
there was Steve Nash. He didn't dominate for an era the way Jordan dominated for an era. He didn't dominate for an era the way Magic dominated for an era. Like Steph has dominated for a long period of time at his position. Magic dominated for a long time in his position. When you're talking top 5, Isaiah was the best point guard outside of maybe Magic, which is a much better comparison than Deron Williams. So, like, when you look at who they were competing with as best in the game, like Giannis is competing right now with LeBron and KD. That's different from competing with Joe Blow and Jim Smo. Like, in the realm of basketball, the fact that Chris Paul was even debatable with Deron Williams tells you how great of a point guard he really was, because we don't look at Deron Williams like that. Not in the history of basketball.
Or let's just say what the point guard position was, and Chris Paul excelled at it.
But so did Steve Nash. I would argue Steve Nash is a better point guard than Chris Paul.
Because of the MVP?
Winning MVP statistics.
Nah, he impacted. Now Steve Nash impacted with it.
How do you say winning and then Chris Paul did the same thing?
Shooter? Huh?
Chris Paul has contributed the same amount of winning as Steve Nash.
So there you go. They comparable.
Steve Nash got to a finals as well. Like, well, barely.
No, he didn't.
No, really count that. He did. The Lakers team, they got to the finals, he just wasn't there.
I think they got as far as the Western Conference.
I thought he was on that finals team, but his back was all screwed up.
Nah, he got there, I think, a year after.
Yeah, I don't think we saw when they lost to Boston.
Yeah, he wasn't on that team.
I don't think he was there.
Okay. But even in that, like, he got 2 MVPs. Like, whether he deserved them or not, those count. And Chris Paul doesn't have anything. He doesn't have a scoring title. He got assist titles, which are cool.
He got steals title. I mean,
A what?
steals.
Okay. John Stockton, like, has more steals than Chris Paul. And more assists.
He also played 37 years.
Well, if Chris Paul can stay healthy, maybe they have better stats.
That is true.
This all goes to the fact, to Marcus's point, if we name 10 you can argue a lot of them ahead of Chris Paul because he doesn't have anything that you can definitively go to and say, well, he did this. Because he didn't do nothing. No finals MVP, no regular season MVP. He don't got 8 all-star game MVPs. Like, he's really good. But he made teams better. All the people we named made teams better. Outside of this year with Russell Westbrook, he's made a bunch of teams better. A bunch of mediocre teams that didn't have no business getting there. Him and Durant did make it to a finals, and they had a lot of success, similar to Chris Paul. Like, I don't see it.
My whole narrative, what makes him a point guard?
That's
the vision.
So it's not point guard, it's point guard. So my whole thing is what makes him a point guard other than because he don't have better handles. He doesn't have better handles than Steph. He doesn't have better handles than Kyrie.
Okay, that's true.
He has better handles than James Harden. So
no, he doesn't. He doesn't have better handles than Jamal Crawford.
Right.
He doesn't have better handles than Iverson. Okay, that's fine. But we're not talking about his dribbling ability.
But if you want to say,
okay, who's passing better? Who passes better?
In terms of passing than Chris Paul.
John Stockton averaged 10.5 assists for his career.
To a 6'11" guy who was just sitting underneath the basket. We already had this talk.
But you got to get him the ball.
How easy is it to do?
It's pretty hard when everybody's trying to stop him because he knows he's the best player.
Karl Malone is 6'11". I think he's like 6'9".
He's 6'8".
6'8".
But you got to think if he's the only offensive weapon you playing with,
but he's not. Jeff Hornacek's out there knocking down threes.
Jeff Hornacek averaged what 9 points a game?
Right. Like
that doesn't equate to having 14,000 assists, 15,000
right.
assists.
Like it's just not the same. So I think when you
what player did Chris Paul plays who that's equal to Karl Malone?
I would argue as a scorer, James Harden.
Okay. And that was probably one of his best years up until the injury in this past year.
Okay. So
that's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, when he had the same talent that Stockton gets, look at how productive it was.
They didn't get to the finals.
We don't know. I mean, we don't know what would have happened.
Like Ray said before, if Chris Paul did get hurt, maybe we having a different conversation. But I think we should change the narrative from point guard to just point guard. If we do it that way.
Yeah, man. They're hard-headed.
Point guard is making it seem like he,
like he's definitely the greatest point guard ever.
Right.
And he might be top 10.
He's definitely top 5.
He's not.
He's not even top 5. Like
he's definitely top 5.
You can't put him above Magic, Curry.
I'm not above Magic.
You just shit on Magic like 20 minutes ago.
Because you compared him to Kobe as a Laker.
I did not.
That was the discussion.
The legacy.
Okay, yeah, you got Magic, Curry, Isaiah.
So
if you want to put
taking Chris Paul over Jason Kidd.
Yes.
Like, come on. Let's be real here.
I'm taking Chris Paul over Jason Kidd and Steve Nash.
I'm
a big Nash fan.
Everybody knows Chris Paul, right? Everybody knows Chris Paul's number. Everybody knows this and this. I bet you can't walk down the street and ask 5 15-year-olds what number that man Jason Kidd wore. I bet you
they're 15 years old. So
no,
they didn't watch him.
Hey, but if I ask them what number Michael Jordan wore, what are they gonna say?
Well, you live in Chicago, and we're not comparing Chris Paul.
Ray.
Let's just be realistic. Jordan Brand never died, so everybody knows the 23.
Does anybody else have a signature shoe with 23?
Hey, right. I mean, if you want to play the Chicago thing, I wouldn't even talk to those kids because there's a good chance they might just tell me to give me their wallet. But that's a whole different conversation for a different day. Like we can do this all day long. But if I'm walking down the street and I see a man 30 years of age and I go, hey, what number was Jason Kidd? 9 times out of 10, do you think they're going to know that?
So you think if you ask your average 30 to 40-year-old who's a better point guard, and I wish Con Man was still on, but his sound was all messed up. You're taking –
It was bad. It was pretty bad.
You're taking Chris Paul over John Stockton and Jason Kidd, who have – John Stockton is like every point guard record.
Matter of fact, Chris, we can compare
MVP and is also top.
We can actually compare Chris Paul to Jason Kidd, because when he was with the Nets, they pretty much had the same talent as the Lakers. I mean, as the Clippers did, as far as dudes flying in the air and stuff like that. So you're talking Kenyon Martin,
Right.
Richard Jefferson, and Vince Carter at the time.
But
Chris Paul had a big handicap, and Doc Rivers too.
Hey, but Chris knows, like a good neighbor, Chris Paul is there, ladies and gentlemen. State Farm. Who has State Farm at the end of the day?
You know what's funny? He's so good at State Farm commercials that people actually thought he had a twin than he is in basketball.
He do.
Cliff.
Yeah, so therefore you know that he ain't
what commercial John Stockton in?
So
It's a whole different world. Stop. Like that doesn't matter.
I wasn't gonna put my business out there. I took a literal dump, and y'all are still talking about this.
Because Chris is hard headed, and he's on this hill because they share the same name. But he actually
no, because I'm not on that hill for the name reason. Because I'm not supporting Chris Webber.
Chris Paul is just in the pantheon of greats. Chris Paul is just not that guy. He's just not.
I just don't think he ever got a chance to be that
Thank you.
He just can't stay healthy to prove it. So that's on him.
How does he not have? He had a chance last year. Didn't get it done. He
was hurt last year. He tore ligaments in his wrist.
So that goes against your ability to be the greatest if you ain't there.
So being hurt,
Len Bias might have been better than Michael Jordan, but he died. Like
why that conversation took a turn? Like what the heck?
I want to do what you said that, Ray, but I get what you said.
Yeah, like
you said that was a little too much enthusiasm.
This was supposed to be our last topic, and it turned into longer than all of our other topics.
We have
been on almost 2 hours.
The point is, you got to be available, and Chris Paul hasn't. And when you're great, you gotta be there. Like if you can't play, you can't play.
Okay.
Why do you hate Chris Paul?
I don't. It's the same thing about LeBron. I don't hate LeBron, but when you start saying stuff that's just outrageous and egregious, I'm not gonna let it fly.
I miss Ray so much. Hey, Ray. I haven't talked to you, bro. How's Carson Wentz doing?
I wish we would have waited.
Yeah.
We waited a day. We could have traded for a different quarterback. I tell you that.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Hey. What kind of quarterback, Ray? An innocent quarterback?
Yes.
Wow. I
missed you, bro.
Another Magic Johnson positive moment in the Deshaun Watson family household. I'm so happy for that, man.
I really.
Y'all gonna get all Deshaun back. I'm sorry.
Hell yeah. Hey, Marcus, I'm a Clemson fan. I'll rock with him. I heard him out. I listened to everything. I was like, you know what? Whatever the court says, I'll ride with it. So I'm riding with it. Because that's how they want to play this game. That's how they want to play this game. That's fine.
Listen.
We could play like that. That's
I ain't knocking no man that like to get massages. That's all I'm saying.
All I'm saying is you rub my never. You know what? I'm not doing this.
I won't even go there. I'm a married man.
Hey,
I'm not a
because of that title he gave me and all of
likes
Nation,
get massages.
I'll rub his shit myself.
That's what you want to do.
I don't care. Hey, Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun Watson, any day of the week. Y'all let me know. For what y'all did for Clemson, the way they looking right now, grateful. Because I don't think I'm ever see it ever again.
I just hope Dallas don't do something crazy and go and get them for Dak or something. That'd really blow me. But
it wouldn't blow you like those massages blew that Deshaun though.
Man.
Or Robert Kraft. I don't think I forgot. Robert Kraft.
Break him to the Eagles. We'll take him.
No, I don't want to play against the guy. We should have traded for him. I hope we could still parlay Wentz into him. Would be great. But
y'all can have Wentz. Right? Yeah, y'all can have Wentz. If you're a Commanders fan, y'all can definitely have Wentz.
Yeah, I don't know why we did that, to be honest. But if we can flip him and turn him into Deshaun Watson, all right.
Good luck
and
with
we
that.
just gave up a bunch of picks, so we ain't got no picks.
I'd be able to get away with that.
But we'll see. But fellas, it has been 2 hours, and I apologize to the people that didn't care about Chris Paul like I don't. But it was necessary for me to try and educate Chris on the ranking of where he has Chris Paul.
I don't think that's how it went down
at all.
You can go back and watch it and comment for yourself. I think it was clear that there was little to no effective responses coming from Chris, because you can't defend Chris or Cliff and their lack of performances or lack of availability. Or
maybe Cliff was available, he probably would have got farther than Chris.
He wins everywhere. Oh my God. Okay.
Because Chris seems like he stays healthy enough to be.
No, we're finishing the show.
Very well. But definitely appreciate y'all. Y'all have a great one. It's been another great episode of ASAP. Tune in this weekend and definitely tune in next week. We will be back with more hot takes and great things. Shout out to Mike and baseball coming back. And basketball is going to get even better. We might have a Ben Simmons sighting next week. So we'll definitely touch on it.
Yeah, you definitely will see Ben Simmons.
Another guy who needs a couple massages in his life.
And have a great night.
Whole sports all plays. Yeah. Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays. 365, we making up plays. You talking the game, get you to the days. We're high in the court, the diamond in the lane. Variety topics, living the same.